So I'm just pressing now in between those blocks so that those edges that we've just stitched down sit nice and flat. And I have got my steam on for that. Let's have a look from the other side. Again, with the mat, it does allow for those little beads. Yep, that looks okay to me. Right, I'll just switch my iron off. Now, as I was machining the rest of those blocks on, I remembered that when I stitched the original one, I'd used the reel of thread that comes in your kit. I'd used that to stitch all the on the top of the machine where it's stitching on the top of the blocks, and I'd used just any thread that was in my in my bobbin underneath. So consequently, as I was getting further and further round, I was running out of thread. So what I'm going to say to you is, keep your thread, your reel of thread, your number 1 thread for stitching on the top, and just use anything in your bobbin underneath. If you start winding off to that thread to stitch underneath, you will run out. So you're better off to keep that for the top, and anything underneath, whether it be white, cream, beige, pale grey, anything like that will do. If you do go darker, if you have something darker in your bobbin, you begin to see it, don't you, sometimes, and from underneath. But any cream, beige, that kind of colour will be fine. So I do apologise about that. I'd completely forgotten about the thread that goes underneath. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is to measure around the outside. Now, when I've been laying these blocks on, I have made sure more or less that these edges are straight, even if it's meant some of these being closer actually on the whole hanging itself. I wanted to make sure that they were more or less in line, and the whole thing measures, if I go from stitched edge to stitched edge here, it's about 62 centimetres, which is about 24.5 inches across. And what I made sure was that it was the same all the way down, and then also this way again it's 62 centimetres. You probably can't see that because I'm leaning across there as well. Okay, so so I know that I've got a rough sort of square there, and what I'm going to do now is measure around the outside edge. I want 2 centimetres all the way around the outside. So 2 centimetres, what's that in inches? Let's have a look. About 3/4 of an inch, I make that. Now you're not going to see this edge, so you can use your pencil again, and I'm just going to make a line with that pencil. I'm going to do 2 there, and then 2 along this bottom here, hopefully you'll see that on the camera. And then I'm going to use my, in fact really I should swap to my cutting mat, shouldn't I, because this is a little bit soft underneath. Let me do that now. Let's fold that up and take this away. There we go. Okay, so yes, so then I'm just going to use my long ruler there. I'm getting, because of the light shining on it, I am getting a bit of a shadow. I can't see where the... I think that's absolutely fine there and there. So I'm going to draw that line on with my pencil there. And along the bottom here. Oops, I did move that there. Hopefully that's okay. I'm pretty sure, let's just make sure I've got my ruler there. I just want to make sure that that is, it's a bit tricky when you've got those beads because you can't lay it flat down, but yeah, I have got a square corner there, so it's not kind of going to go off at a different angle. So I'll just move this across here. Now I am going to mark another 2 centimeters there and then join those lines up. Again, if you are a quilter and you do this sort of thing often, you may have a better way. And then with this one, what I'm going to do is my 2 centimeters there. So I'm measuring the 2 centimeters from, I don't know if I made that clear, from right from the edge of the block. Okay, so it's the same over this side as well. And there. But I'm also, just to double check this, I'm going to make sure with my, so I've got a fairly square, so that's from edge to edge of that is 66. So from there, I'm going to mark 66 there as well. And then as this line goes up here, let's continue it a little bit more. To make sure that that is about 2 centimeters. Yep. So from there again to there, I'm going to measure 66. So I know again I've got a decent fairly square, if you see what I mean. Okay, I'm going to do this from this side because it's really difficult with that light shining on there. You can't see in the shadow whether you're on the line or not. Where are we? There it is. Oop. Slipped again there. And then I'm going to do the same here. Now you can see there, I don't know if you can see actually, there you see where I marked that. So I've measured 2 centimeters from there, but this block sticks out a little bit further. So because I've measured it from the other side, it just brings it inside that line there, but it does give you a guide. I'm going to continue that line on there. Like that, and then I'm going to do my 2 centimeters again here. Measure again from this side, so that is again, that was just over 66 there. So I'm going to put a line there. Draw it in with my pencil. And finish it off there. Okay, so that's my edge now drawn in. So you could either do this with your wheel and your ruler, but I'm actually going to cut this off by hand now. So that's all cut down now around the edge, and I've laid it on top of the wadding that I'm going to use in between. So this is just a cotton, might be a cotton mix, I don't know, it's some that I've had stacked on the side for a long time. So I'm going to use this as a template to cut out my piece of wadding as well. So I'm just going to cut around the edge. You have to be careful with wadding, don't you, because it does stretch a little bit, so I'm trying not to pull it too much as I'm cutting it. And I don't use my best fabric scissors for wadding either. I don't know, I worry it might blunt them a little bit. Probably completely wrong there. I don't know what makes me think that. Going fast. Okay, there we go then. So that's the wadding cut out. I didn't want to pull it down, because again I didn't want to sort of misshape that, because it does stretch and pull a little bit. Right, so once you've done that, I'm going to take this off the top now. So I've got my wadding, and I'm going to lift my wadding up as well, and I've decided to go around, so my background fabric is going to be paler this time, so I've kind of done it in reverse really. See how that looks. I was trying some darker fabrics, but I don't know, they just didn't look quite right. Now I'm afraid I can't tell you what this fabric is. It's a fairly new one that I've started using. I haven't looked it in my fabric swatch book yet, and I can't look it up on the internet because we haven't got any, so I can't see what I ordered. Anyway, let's open this up. But it's like, it is a linen or a linen mix. It's got a sort of flecks in it, and it's sort of like a creamy beige. It's not beige and it's not cream, it's somewhere in the middle. And I don't know if you can see that it's got little flecks in it, but it's quite a nice fabric. It's really nice to print on. I've been printing some, I don't know if I've got them on here actually, or if I moved them. I might have moved them. I've been printing some little, oh no, there, I think it's here, look. I printed these little robins on it, but anyway, I didn't get any further with those this year. They'll be for next year. I want to do some bunting with them. Anyway, right, let me find the end of this fabric. Where is it? Is this it? Yeah, there we go. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do is lay this out. So it's nice and flat. You'll need to do this probably on your dining table, won't you? I've still got my cutting mat under there, but I'm not worrying about that too much. Okay, and then I'm going to lay my wadding back over the top, like that. And what I want around the outside, I think it's, let me just double check, I'm sure it's a 2.5 centimetre border. Where are we? Two centimetres, not 2.5, sorry, around the outside. So what I need to do is to, so I don't want to stretch this too much, so I'm just going to fiddle about with this, getting this on, and then I'll come back to you in a minute. Okay, right, and you can see there, look, where although I'd cut it to fit as I've laid it, I mean, I've had to kind of pull it down a little bit to stretch it down, but you can see how it's gone beyond the original panel. So, so this doesn't move anymore now, I'm going to pop some pins in. So I've got some of those little bendy patchwork pins. So what I'm going to do, I can feel my boards under there. I'm going to go through all 3 layers, and I'm going to put a pin in every, where all 4 corners meet, like that. And then that will ensure that it doesn't move about. What you don't want to do is to pin it to your dining room or dining table tablecloth. Like I have there. My board's not underneath it there, is it? Oh dear, that's it. Now is my cutting mat still under there. So I've got pins in all the, where all the corners meet, as well as on all 4 corners apart from this one, because I can't get to, well, I suppose I could do this one. Actually, let me do that now, because the board is underneath, so it should be fairly easy. I was going to do it once I'd trimmed the fabric, but I think that should be okay there. Yeah, it's gone through. What was I going to say? Yes, and I've got them in between all the blocks as well on the edges there. So I don't know if you have used these pins before. They're really quilting pins, and they've got this little kink in, which means that you can very easily kind of get them into the fabric. If you don't have them, don't worry. You know, just regular pins will be absolutely fine. As far as buying these are concerned, I think, you know, most haberdashery, and again, if you look online, there'll be lots of places that sell these pins with the little bends in. Okay, so I'm now going to, where that wadding has started to stick out, I'm going to trim that down. Along this edge so that I can cut this edge. What I want to be able to do is to measure my 2 centimetres, and again I'm going to do it with a pencil because you're not actually going to see it. Get my long ruler. And draw a line. You could cut this with your wheel if you wanted to as well. And then I'm going to do the same down on this bottom edge as well. Just get rid of this excess that's poking out the bottom now. Okay, and then the same again here. Measure 2 centimetres, or the equivalent of in inches, and then get my big ruler and draw myself a line along there. And then I'm going to cut along that line now. And then we can get rid of this fabric. Pop that over there a minute. And then what we're going to do, you're going to turn this in and then turn it like that, so it just gives the hanging an edge. And we're going to trim the corner, but I need to do those other 2 edges first, so I'm going to do exactly the same as I've just done. And now it's all pinned together, I know nothing's going to sort of stretch too much, so I'm just going to trim this excess off and do these 2 edges. So that's all cut down now, and then what I'm going to do next is to trim off these corners, so that it reduces the bulk in the corner. So it's literally just cutting across the corner there, and I've measured in, well I haven't measured, I've kind of guessed, it's about 2 centimetres in, so that'll be, what was 2 centimetres, about 3/4 of an inch. And you're just going to snip that corner off there. Okay, so the other 3, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the camera back lower down and then show you turning this in. It's getting dark here now, so I might even continue with this tomorrow because the light is fading. So I've just sort of measured in, so it's about 2 centimetres there, and then just snip that off like that. Okay. And then we are going to start turning this in. So you're going over twice like that to form a hem along the bottom. Okay, now did I do top and bottom first, or I can't remember now. Yes, top and bottom I did first, so I'm actually going to turn it because that's it. And I'm going to use these. This is something else that I used, well, not just in quilting, but they're quite handy. So again, instead of pinning, you can use these little clips that are really handy. If you don't have them, again, don't worry. You know, a pin will be absolutely fine. So I'm just going to move my board over a little bit. So you're just turning in once. Now it's up to you if you want to turn it all the way along and then come back, or whether you want to fold it twice as you're going. So I'm just going to pop a little clip on there. If I'm going to do it that way. I quite like the flat edge on the top. And what you're wanting really is to make sure that you've got a nice even or fairly even line down on this edge here, and that it's not too bunched up. So I put quite a lot of clips along here. Sorry, I'm not very central there, am I? Hope you could see what I was doing there. Just wanting to make sure that this is nice and flat. Okay, so I'm back the next morning, and I'm going to reclip this because I realised that I was actually out of out of shot when I was doing it. So I'm going to pin it again, but that's why it's already creased, because I've done this once already. Do you know my instant reaction as well when I came over here first thing this morning was that I do prefer it on the paler colour. But hey, it's not finished yet, and it's good to have an option, isn't it, to see the difference really. Anyway, so getting back to clipping, let me pull it over so you can see that corner. So obviously you're not looking at it upside down. I have it upside down. I've clipped the bottom edge and I'm going to clip the top edge. So it's just a matter of turning over that top one. Now if you want to turn that all over first, you can do. And then just laying that on the top. And then I'm using these quilting clip. I don't know if they are just quilting clips. As I say, I think a lot of people use them for all sorts of things now. And I quite like, can you see they're curved? I quite like it with the top of the clip, be it the flat edge being on the top. So I'm just really making sure that that's sitting nice and flat. And then popping my clip on. If you don't have these clips, obviously you can use pins, that's absolutely fine. Just going to make my way to the end. And then I'll bring you back in ready to start stitching, but you get the idea, don't you? Just pop in those clips. I pop quite a few on and it just holds it nice and securely. Okay, I'll come back in, I'll bring you back in once I'm ready to start the stitching. Okay, so that's all clipped along both the top and the bottom edges. And then before I start stitching, what I'm going to do is to measure from that edge there all the way down. You can't see it, can you? Hang on, let me pull it in again there, all the way down to that bottom edge there, and make sure that both sides are measuring the same. So that's 66 centimeters there, which is about 26 inches. So I'm just going to do the same with this side just to make sure that they are equal before I make a start. Yeah, Okay, oh, my tape measure's slipping. Where are we? There we go. The top there. Yep. Okay, give or take a couple of millimetres. That is also 66. Measuring 66 down there. I don't know if you can see that there. Okay, so I'm ready now then to start stitching my edge. As I say, when I did the first one, I did top and bottom first. I'm going to just move my coffee because I don't want to spill it or knock it over, and then I can move over this way a little bit. That's it. Okay, so yeah, I did the top and bottom edges first, and then I folded in the side edges, both the side edges, and clipped them in exactly the same way as I'm going to do this now. So using your number 10 if you've bought the kit, or it is the size 16 Finca thread shade 3000, and I've already got my needle threaded up for this. So single thickness, and then I've knotted the end. I'm going to take that first clip out. In fact, I'm just going to move this pin down as well so it's not in the way while I'm showing you this. Just pin it a little bit further down. And move that down there. Make sure that that's sat, hasn't sort of come apart. You want it to be nice and square there. Now I'm not coming up through the back of this fabric here. I'm going to come up, so I'm underneath the wadding, but I've not come up through the back fabric, and I'm coming up and pulling through until I can feel that knot there. And then I'm going in, I don't know, do they call this slip stitch or whip stitch? I don't really know. But I'm going in, crossing over. Again, I'm not going through the back at all. I'm just going through those three layers, isn't it? You've got your top layer is this fabric, then you've got this fabric, and then you've got your wadding underneath. So it's those 3 layers that I'm going through. So in, cross over underneath without coming through the backing. And I can see these little stitches. If you look hard enough, you can see them. But I want to see them. And as I'm doing this, I can sort of make sure that fabric under there, look, I can sort of pull it with my needle a little bit to make sure it's not going to be bunched up at all. So there, I can pull it there a little bit. Take that clip off now. Oh, I missed the top fabric there. So when I get here, look, I'm just going to move that down. And just work your way along this bottom edge, doing this little stitch. I suppose it's a little bit like the up and over stitch, only it's not quite as visible, is it? So making sure you've not gone through this back fabric at all. You don't really want to see that. I know it's only the back, but you don't really want to see it on the back. Now I'm going to take that away now. So we're no further with our internet today. When Graham spoke to the council yesterday, apparently it is down as an emergency. But worryingly, the lady that Graham spoke to said that the council will have to liaise with BT because obviously BT they provide the wire and need to put the new pole in, and the council need to remove the tree, and it looks quite tangled up down there, so I suppose they don't want to be, the council won't want to be doing any more damage. But can you imagine? Communication's not good at the best of times, is it, between these companies? And Christmas is coming. Oh dear. Never mind. I say it could be worse. At least we've got electric. You know, nobody was hurt when the tree fell. I think we're just so geared up now, aren't we, to having the internet. You know, I've had to take quite a few things out of my shop because I can't print the labels that go on the kits. I've got a workshop tomorrow and it's just occurred to me I can't print my instructions off. Oh dear. Anyway, never mind. I might have a few. Might have to see if I can photocopy them. And Graham's applied for, you have to have a membership for the library, of course. Our library in Liskeard shut down quite a while ago and it's reopened because we've not renewed our membership. So he's got to have his membership confirmed before we know we can go and use the Wi-Fi in there to upload this video to YouTube. So I'm really hoping it's going to get to you. I don't know what we can do if we don't do that. Anyway, never mind. Oops. Pull that knot out. Move this along a little bit now. I just want to show you sort of what I do when I get to the end of my thread. So I'm going to make that the last one. So I'm going to take that clip out there, and what I do, again, you may know a better way. I come up sort of right inside there. And do my knot so it sits inside. Then thread up again. And start again. So I'm coming up just on that crease there, and I'm going to just push that little tail end in there if I can. That's it, like that, and that will just stay in there, and then carry on. Yeah, so with my kits, I quite often what I do, I have all the components ready to go, but so I don't have boxes and boxes and boxes of kits sat around. When an order's placed on Etsy, I just finish them off, pack them all together and put the label on. And so sometimes then I come to put the label on, and you know, I've run out, I've used them up the time before, and anyway, that happened the other day, and then I suddenly realised I couldn't actually print any more off. Completely forgotten that the software that we use for doing those labels connects to the internet. Anyway, hey ho. Okay, so I'm going to finish this row, top row, and then I'm going to stitch the bottom row, and then I'll show you clipping the sides and how I turn the corners, and then we'll be ready to move on to the running stitch that goes in between all these blocks.